which for those that know, Bill King is the first interview the first interview you and I together had for our other show. And he mentioned that Ohio State is definitely DBU, and the proof is in the pudding. So a lot of the defensive backs are wanting to come over here to Ohio State, which is nice to see. I don't know if you got to hear any of that with Claire.
Oh, I always enjoyed listening to Claire. I mean, she is quite the well-deserved fan following from the Bill King faithful, as she should.
Oh, definitely. All right, well, we're just going to do a little quick show today. We're going to get more information and more stuff going as the following shows lead up to the opening of training camp. We, as anyone knows, a fan of our shows past, we traditionally break down the Big Ten, and we usually find a good guest or two in order to break down the Big Ten. And happy to announce that we are going to have Brett Ciancia, I think, or Ciadia, I forget how to pronounce his last name, from Pick Six Previews on to discuss with us the Big Ten and break it all down again. I mean, it was 2 great shows last year, and he really enjoyed working with us, so I figured it would be fun again this year and let all the fans that, so they could stand around the water cooler and talk about their sports knowledge with their friends. They can get it from us, knowing what all is going on with the Big Ten and where we picked everybody to be in the Big Ten. We were pretty good last year. I know we picked Ohio. I picked Ohio State and Wisconsin, so I was half right.
Yeah.
I forget who you picked on. Did you pick Wisconsin too?
So I know I picked Ohio State, and I doubt that I was right with the Wisconsin thing, because I want to say that schedule was so daunting.
It was a brutal schedule they had.
I remember thinking, I can't remember. I want to say I probably like a fool picked Iowa. I can promise you I won't be doing that again. I'm not going to declare.
I've learned the last couple of years to stay away from Iowa. They're going to have the team, and then they choke, and then it's like, then you sleep on Iowa, and that's when they get you. You know, they're the helter-skelter of the Big Ten, like we've said before.
Exactly.
You don't know what you're going to get with them.
Exactly. Are we gonna do the Pick Six previews? Are we gonna do it in one show or 2, like we did last year?
I believe, I'm hoping it's going to be 2.
Okay.
We're going to, we'll talk more with Brett about it. So I know that a lot of our loyal listeners, they'll be happy to hear about that, because a lot of folks really did enjoy that show. Shows. I mean, we really did an hour each day, an hour for the Big Ten West and about an hour for the Big Ten East. And it's just, it's not anything to walk through, but I mean, the lower teams where we figured like Rutgers, we didn't really break down in depth, or, Maryland and stuff like that. But we got pretty good in detail for Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan. None of us picked Penn State. That's for sure.
Right.
And nobody's seen the drop off that Sparty was going to have. I mean, I was getting flack that from our one listener, Dan. He's a big Sparty fan. He's how are you going to put Michigan above Michigan State? At the end of the season, he told me to shut up. So
there you go.
So, all right, and be on the lookout for another special. I don't want to say it yet because this hasn't been officially set in stone. We're just waiting for the final confirmation. But early next week, possibly on a Monday, there's going to be a very big show dropping. Very, very good interview. So be on the lookout for that. As always, this is the Silver Bullets podcast. We're not on iTunes yet. We're not on Google Play yet. We just submitted our first show Sunday, I believe, and it takes a week or 2, but you can find us on SoundCloud. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on theozone.net. We're both parts, or we're part of the ozone.net family. We're the Hayes and Cannon. Chip, what's your Twitter?
Yes, it's at Chip Minnick, Minnich. So you mentioned how I also write for Athlon Sports.
Yes.
One of the articles that I just was recently published by Athlon Sports is
I have to read
I was asked to provide reasons why Ohio State will make the playoff, as well as reasons why Ohio State will not make the playoff. So I'd be very anxious to hear from any of our loyal listeners as to how well or poorly my rationale was in the article.
I still have to read that, so I'm sure I will say something snarky.
That's all right.
That's because that's what we do. But that reminds me, that brings me to another question for you as far as the athlon. And no, this isn't about the Michigan State cover.
Okay.
Jesse Scott, who's another contributor for Athlon Sports that I know, he posted something about, or he did an article, and it was predictions on the Michigan schedule and what games they're going to win and what games they're going to lose. Did you take part in that at all?
I did not on that one.
Okay, I was just curious because he was the only one to pick Michigan over Ohio State, and I haven't been able to get him to answer me why he picked Michigan over Ohio State. He took Indiana over Michigan. He took, I think, Wisconsin and Penn State, and he still had Michigan finishing at 8-4, but it was just mind-boggling to me. But I mean, we'll get into that into the preview section in a couple of weeks.
Well, to kind of pivot back to our good friends at Sons of Schmidt, I completely agree that opening game between Florida and Michigan, that's going to be not just a good game. I think that's going to be a great barometer game for both programs. I agree because the losses that Michigan had throughout their entire roster on the offensive line, I think if they're struggling against Florida, look out, because Florida is not necessarily, an offensive juggernaut. I mean, they're usually well stocked on the defense, but that's certainly not going to be the last good defense that the Michigan Wolverines will face during the course of the. So if they struggle, look out.
Yeah, I agree. I'm picking Florida over Michigan based on a simple fact. You look at Harbaugh. You look at him since he's been at Michigan. He's 2-4 away from the big house against teams that are above 500. That's not good. I mean, last year you had the team with the number one defense in the country, and you went into Iowa and you lost. They say with Ohio State, Florida fans are like, oh, it's a controversy, and, the refs won it for you guys. First of all, no, the refs didn't win it for us. Because bottom line, let's look at the simple facts. Number one, if Durbin makes one of two of those field goals, there is no overtime. Number two, Michigan defense allowed over 100 yards of offense to the Buckeyes in the fourth quarter. They weren't the number one defense after they left Columbus. They came in number one and they left number two. So I just think the man has a problem with, what's the word I'm looking for? I said it last year as far as,
Poise.
Yeah, just poise, character, just how you coach is how your team goes. And for some reason, he makes more of an issue out of the road games and tries, that whole situation with Iowa and covering everything up in the pink locker room with Michigan, so that way none of the players see it. You're drawing more attention by doing what you're doing. Just embrace it.
Don't give everything away for our Big Ten preview.
Yeah, I know. I try not to, but So, yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Shannon, SHANNON, CFB. You could find the show on Twitter at, I think it's like SLVR Bullets Pod. Got to play around in order to, because you only have so many letters. And you can find us on Facebook at Silver Bullets Podcast. You can like us on there. We're going to be, I haven't talked to Chip about this, but we're going to be having a call-in number so if people can call in and leave a voicemail for questions. We're going to set up a hashtag, Ask Silver Bullets on Twitter. If you guys have any questions or anything, or just reach out to us on Twitter and ask. So with that being said, this is the Silver Bullets podcast on the ozone.net and Hayes and Canaan. Don't forget to listen to Sons of Schmidt with Mike Meals and Brandon Zimmerman, and Acosta Field with Tony Gerdeman, and coming soon, Oh Hell No, with Claire Crawford and Joe Duxter. Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.